Let me ask you something. Are you living your life or are you just surviving it? Because the truth is, most people wake up every day and run the same patterns, same thoughts, same excuses, same fears. And they wonder why nothing changes. Most people live their lives on autopilot, running the same thoughts, routines, and emotions every single day. They wake up, check their phones, scroll through the same social media feeds, complain about the same problems, and let the same fears dictate their actions. Without even realizing it, they are reinforcing the very patterns that keep them stuck. And the truth is, unless something disrupts that pattern, they will continue to live the same life year after year with no real change. The human brain is designed to seek familiarity because familiarity feels safe. Even if the current situation is not ideal, even if a person is unhappy, the brain will hold on to what it knows rather than embrace uncertainty. That's why breaking a pattern isn't just about changing behavior, it's about rewiring the mind to accept a new normal. The problem is, most people wait for external circumstances to force them into change. They wait for a wake-up call, a rock-bottom moment, or a life-altering event to finally realize they need to do something different. But the ones who truly transform their lives don't wait. They recognize their patterns and intentionally disrupt them. Breaking a pattern starts with self-awareness. Most people don't even notice the thoughts they repeat to themselves daily. They don't recognize the limiting beliefs they've been reinforcing for years. They tell themselves stories about why they can't succeed, why they aren't good enough, or why things never work out for them. These thoughts become deeply ingrained, running on a subconscious loop, shaping their actions and results. The key to change is catching those thoughts the moment they arise and challenging them. Instead of defaulting to, "I can't," they must replace it with, "How can I?" Instead of believing they are stuck, they must ask themselves what action they can take right now to move forward. Physical movement is one of the fastest ways to break a mental and emotional pattern. The body and mind are deeply connected. When a person is in a low-energy state, slouched over, breathing shallowly, and moving slowly, their thoughts will reflect that. But the moment they stand up, take a deep breath, move their body, and change their posture, their emotional state begins to shift. That's why top performers use movement as a tool to instantly change their focus. Whether it's jumping into an ice-cold shower, going for a run, or even clapping their hands and shouting, they create a physical interruption to reset their mental state. Another powerful way to disrupt a pattern is by changing the environment. The places a person spends time in, the people they surround themselves with, and the media they consume all reinforce existing habits and beliefs. If someone wants to change their life, they need to start by evaluating what they expose themselves to daily. Being around people who complain all the time will keep them stuck in a negative mindset. Scrolling through negative news and distractions will reinforce fear and doubt. But immersing themselves in an environment that challenges them, surrounding themselves with people who think bigger, and feeding their mind with empowering content will naturally push them toward growth. The key to permanently breaking a pattern is repetition. A single action is not enough to create lasting change. A person might feel motivated for a day or two after watching an inspiring video or hearing an impactful message, but unless they reinforce that change every day, they will eventually fall back into old habits. That's why successful people commit to conditioning their minds and bodies daily. They don't just wait to feel motivated, they create motivation by consistently taking actions that align with their goals. They develop routines that keep them in peak states, whether it's through affirmations, visualization, exercise, or practicing gratitude. They train themselves to think and act differently until the new pattern becomes automatic. Breaking a pattern requires conscious effort. It's not something that happens passively. It's an intentional process that demands awareness, action, and consistency. Every time a person interrupts an old habit and replaces it with a new one, they are literally rewiring their brain. Over time, what once felt difficult or unnatural becomes second nature. The mind adapts, the body follows, and life begins to shift in ways that once seemed impossible. Every person has a set of standards that dictate what they will and will not tolerate in life. These standards shape their habits, their relationships, their finances, and their overall success. The problem is, most people never consciously set their standards. They simply adopt them from their environment, from their upbringing, from the people around them. They settle into a way of living that feels normal, even if it's far below what they are truly capable of. They convince themselves that it's enough, that they should be grateful, that aiming higher is unrealistic. But the truth is, life will always meet a person at the level of their standards, not their goals. A person can have big dreams. They can talk about what they want. They can visualize success all day long. But if their standards don't align with that vision, they will never make it a reality. A person who dreams of financial freedom but tolerates living paycheck to paycheck will never break free. A person who wants a strong, healthy body but tolerates skipping workouts and eating junk food will never see real progress. A person who wants deep, meaningful relationships but tolerates disrespect, dishonesty, or surface-level connections will always feel unfulfilled. What someone allows is what continues. What they demand from themselves is what transforms their reality. Raising standards is not about setting unrealistic expectations. It's about redefining what is non-negotiable. It's about deciding that certain behaviors, certain excuses, certain patterns are no longer acceptable. When someone truly raises their standards, they no longer rely on motivation or willpower to do what needs to be done. They simply operate at a different level. A person who has set a high standard for their health doesn't debate whether or not they should exercise, they just do it. A person who has set a high standard for their success doesn't negotiate with themselves about whether to take action. They follow through. It becomes part of their identity. One of the fastest ways to elevate standards is by shifting the identity a person holds for themselves. People will always act in alignment with who they believe they are. If someone sees themselves as lazy, as undisciplined, as incapable, they will continue to make choices that reinforce that belief. But the moment they decide to embody a new identity, their actions begin to reflect that shift. Instead of saying, I need to start working out, they say, I am the kind of person who never misses a workout. Instead of saying, I should be more productive, they say, I am the kind of person who gets things done no matter what. Instead of hoping to be more confident, they decide, I am someone who speaks with certainty and stands tall. The people in a person's life also play a massive role in shaping their standards. If someone is constantly surrounded by people who settle, who make excuses, who live in fear, their standards will naturally reflect that level. But when they surround themselves with people who push them, who expect more from themselves, who refuse to settle, their standards rise to match that energy. The fastest way to grow is to be in an environment that demands it. Raising standards is not about being perfect. It's about refusing to settle for anything less than what is truly possible. It's about looking at every area of life and asking, am I accepting something here that I know is beneath what I am capable of? It's about making the internal shift from hoping things will change to deciding that they must change. People who achieve greatness don't do so because they are lucky, because they have more resources, or because they are naturally gifted. They achieve greatness because they refuse to accept anything less. They hold themselves to a different standard, and they follow through on it every single day. Most people spend their lives avoiding discomfort, seeking the easiest path, and staying within the boundaries of what feels safe. The human brain is wired for survival, not success, and it will always push a person toward familiarity because familiarity feels secure. But comfort is a trap. It keeps people stuck in the same routines, repeating the same patterns, never growing, never evolving. The moment something feels difficult or uncertain, most people retreat. They convince themselves that if something is uncomfortable, it must be wrong. But the truth is, discomfort is the price of transformation. Every breakthrough in life comes from pushing through discomfort. Every skill that was once impossible became second nature because someone was willing to struggle through the learning process. Every moment of growth required stepping into the unknown, facing fear, and proving to themselves that they were stronger than their doubts. The problem is, most people don't push through long enough to experience that shift. They start something new, feel the resistance, and immediately look for a way out. They tell themselves, maybe this isn't for me, or I'll try again later. And they never build the resilience needed to create real change. Discomfort is not a signal to stop. It's a sign that growth is happening. The people who succeed in any area of life are not the ones who avoid discomfort. They are the ones who embrace it. They recognize that the resistance they feel is the process of becoming stronger, smarter, and more capable. The discomfort of waking up early to work on their goals, the discomfort of pushing through exhaustion to keep a promise to themselves, the discomfort of having difficult conversations, making sacrifices, and taking risks. These are the things that separate those who achieve greatness from those who settle. Fear and discomfort go hand in hand. The mind creates fear as a defense mechanism to keep a person in the familiar. It whispers thoughts of doubt, worst-case scenarios, and reasons to turn back. But fear is just an illusion. It is a story the mind tells to maintain control, to keep a person from stepping into something bigger. The most successful people in the world feel fear just like everyone else, but they have trained themselves to move forward despite it. They understand that fear is not a stop sign, it's a green light. It's an invitation to step up, to break through, to level up. The key to embracing discomfort is shifting the way it is perceived. Instead of seeing struggle as suffering, it must be recognized as progress. When a person works out and their muscles burn, they don't panic. They understand that the pain is part of the process of getting stronger. The same applies to life. The discomfort of rejection means stepping outside of comfort zones. The discomfort of discipline means breaking through old habits. The discomfort of failure means taking action and learning what doesn't work. The more a person leans into discomfort, the more they realize that everything they want is on the other side of it. People who stay comfortable never experience the depth of what they are capable of. They stay within their limits, afraid to push beyond what they already know. But those who seek out discomfort, who chase challenges, who willingly put themselves in situations that stretch them, are the ones who achieve the impossible. Growth is never easy, but it is always worth it. The mind will always resist what is unfamiliar, but if a person can push past that initial resistance, they will discover strength they never knew they had. Every single day, people are bombarded with distractions, negativity, and noise, pulling them in 100 different directions. Most people go through life reacting to whatever grabs their attention instead of consciously choosing what they focus on. They wake up and immediately check their phones, consuming information that drains their energy. They spend hours worrying about things they can't control, dwelling on past mistakes, or stressing about an uncertain future. They allow external circumstances to dictate their mood, their motivation, and their actions. But what they don't realize is that focus is a choice, and what they choose to focus on determines the direction of their life. The mind is like a magnifying glass. Whatever it is pointed at expands. If a person constantly focuses on problems, they will feel overwhelmed. If they focus on what they lack, they will feel inadequate. If they focus on failures, they will feel stuck. But if they shift their focus to solutions, they will find opportunities. If they focus on growth, they will take action. If they focus on what they control instead of what they can't, they will feel empowered. The difference between people who succeed and those who don't is not intelligence, talent, or luck. It is the ability to direct their focus toward what moves them forward. The brain is constantly filtering information based on what a person pays attention to. This is why two people can experience the same situation but interpret it in completely different ways. One person sees an obstacle and gives up, while another sees a challenge and rises to it. One person sees failure as a reason to quit, while another sees it as feedback to improve. The only difference is focus. The way a person interprets their experiences, the meaning they attach to events, and the thoughts they reinforce all come from what they choose to focus on. Focus is not just about positive thinking. It is about training the mind to filter out distractions and stay locked in on what truly matters. The world is full of endless temptations that pull people away from their goals. Social media, entertainment, other people's opinions, and the constant pressure to fit in. Most people lose hours every day chasing temporary gratification instead of building something meaningful. They say they want success, but their focus is scattered. They start something but get distracted before they ever make real progress. If they truly want to change their lives, they must take control of their attention and direct it toward what actually creates results. One of the fastest ways to shift focus is by asking better questions. The brain is constantly searching for answers, and the questions a person asks determine what their mind will look for. Someone who asks, "Why does this always happen to me?" will focus on reasons why they are stuck. Someone who asks, "How can I turn this into an opportunity?" will start seeing possibilities. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" they must ask, "What if I succeed?" Instead of asking, "Why is this so hard?" they must ask, "What can I learn from this?" By changing the questions they ask themselves, they change the way they think. And by changing the way they think, they change the way they act. Training focus is like training a muscle. It takes consistent effort. The mind will always wander, looking for distractions, falling into old patterns, and focusing on what is easy instead of what is necessary. But just like in the gym, the more a person exercises control over their focus, the stronger it becomes. Every time they choose to focus on progress instead of excuses, on gratitude instead of complaints, on opportunities instead of limitations, they are rewiring their brain. Over time, this becomes a habit, a way of thinking, a way of living. The more disciplined a person becomes with their focus, the faster they will see their life shift in ways they never thought possible. Every single day, the mind is being shaped by what it is exposed to. Most people don't realize that their thoughts, beliefs, and actions are a direct reflection of what they consistently consume. The conversations they engage in, the content they watch, the books they read, and even the self-talk they repeat all contribute to the way they see themselves in the world. The problem is, most people allow their minds to be conditioned by default. They take in whatever information is put in front of them without questioning whether it serves them or holds them back. They don't realize that just like the body needs proper nutrition to stay healthy, the mind needs intentional conditioning to stay strong, focused, and resilient. The reason so many people struggle with self-doubt, fear, and negativity is that they have spent years reinforcing those mental patterns. Every time they tell themselves they are not good enough, every time they replay past failures, every time they focus on what could go wrong instead of what could go right, they are strengthening the neural pathways that keep them stuck. The brain is like a muscle. What gets repeated becomes stronger. If someone constantly feeds their mind with doubt, they will always find reasons to hesitate. If they fill their mind with fear, they will always find reasons to avoid taking action. But if they make the conscious decision to condition their mind with empowering beliefs, everything begins to change. Repetition is the key to rewiring the brain. One positive thought is not enough. One motivational video, one book, one moment of inspiration will not create lasting change. Transformation happens when the right messages are reinforced daily. Just like an athlete doesn't train once and expect to be the best, the mind must be trained consistently to develop a new standard. This is why successful people are intentional about what they expose themselves to. They don't leave their mental state up to chance. They actively seek out content that challenges them, that shifts their perspective, that reinforces the mindset they need to succeed. They listen to powerful messages, they read books that expand their thinking, they surround themselves with people who push them to grow. The words a person speaks to themselves are one of the most powerful tools for conditioning the mind. Every time they say, "I can't," they are reinforcing limitation. Every time they say, "I'm not good enough," they are solidifying that belief. But the moment they start speaking with conviction, saying, "I am capable, I will figure this out, I refuse to quit," their mind begins to adapt. The subconscious listens to whatever is repeated most often. If a person wants to rewire their self-position, they must start by changing the way they talk to themselves. Instead of waiting for confidence, they must declare it. Instead of hoping for change, they must claim it. What a person does first thing in the morning and last thing before bed sets the tone for their mindset. If they wake up and immediately check their phone, scrolling through negativity and distractions, their mind is already being conditioned in the wrong direction. But if they start the day by feeding their mind with something powerful, whether it's an uplifting message, affirmations, or even a few minutes of visualization, they are programming their brain for success. The same goes for the end of the day. Right before sleep, the subconscious is most impressionable. Instead of replaying worries or failures, it's the perfect time to reinforce positive beliefs, to focus on progress, to mentally prepare for the next day with intention. Environment plays a huge role in conditioning the mind. If someone surrounds themselves with negativity, it will be nearly impossible to maintain a strong mindset. If they are constantly in spaces where people complain, where mediocrity is accepted, where excuses are normalized, those influences will shape their thinking. But when they choose to put themselves in environments that challenge them, that inspire them, that push them to be better, their entire mindset shifts. Conditioning the mind is about creating a space, both internally and externally, that supports growth, resilience, and unstoppable belief. The stronger the mind is conditioned, the less it is affected by fear, doubt, or setbacks. It becomes focused, disciplined, and ready to take on anything. Most people go through life waiting for motivation to strike before they take action. They believe they need to feel ready, to feel inspired, to feel excited before they can start working toward their goals. But this is a lie that keeps them stuck. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes, and if someone relies on it, they will never build the momentum needed to create real change. The people who achieve extraordinary results are not the ones who feel motivated all the time. They are the ones who take action regardless of how they feel. They have trained themselves to move forward whether they are excited, tired, frustrated, or uninspired. They understand that motivation is a byproduct of action, not the other way around. Most people assume that the hardest part of any challenge is the work itself, but that's not true. The hardest part is starting. Once a person takes the first step, once they get moving, something shifts. The resistance they felt begins to fade, their energy starts to build, and suddenly, what felt impossible just moments ago becomes manageable. This is why successful people don't negotiate with themselves. They don't sit around debating whether they feel like doing something or not. They make a decision and they execute. They remove feelings from the equation because they know that action leads to progress, and progress fuels even more action. One of the biggest mistakes people make is waiting until they feel like it. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mindset, the perfect circumstances. But that moment never comes. There will always be an excuse, always be a reason to delay, always be something that feels like an obstacle. The truth is, taking action is what creates the conditions for success. It's what builds confidence, what builds momentum, what transforms hesitation into certainty. A person does not become disciplined by waiting. They become disciplined by doing. They do it when they don't feel like it. They do it when it's inconvenient. They do it when it's uncomfortable. That is how winners are built. One of the best ways to break free from the trap of waiting for motivation is by lowering the resistance to action. Most people overwhelm themselves by focusing on the entire journey instead of just the next step. They think about everything they need to do, everything that could go wrong, every possible challenge, and that mental weight keeps them frozen. But the key is to simplify the process. Instead of thinking about running 5 miles, focus on putting on the shoes. Instead of worrying about writing a full book, focus on writing the first sentence. Instead of dreading an entire workout, commit to just 5 minutes. The moment a person gets moving, their brain shifts, their body follows, and momentum takes over. Another powerful strategy is creating habits that eliminate the need for motivation altogether. When something becomes a habit, it no longer requires a decision. It just happens automatically. A person who has built the habit of working out doesn't have to debate whether or not to exercise. They just do it. A person who has built the habit of waking up early doesn't have to fight with themselves about getting out of bed. They just get up. The more automatic an action becomes, the less effort it takes to maintain, and the less motivation is required to follow through. People who rely on motivation will always struggle with inconsistency. Some days they will feel unstoppable, and other days they won't do anything at all. But the ones who commit to taking action regardless of their emotions are the ones who create lasting results. They don't wait for energy, they generate it. They don't wait for inspiration, they take action, and the inspiration follows. They train themselves to move forward no matter what, and that discipline becomes their greatest advantage.